Welcome to No Sleep, where the night never ends, and every whisper in the dark could be something real. Tonight's story isn't just horror. It's a memory, a warning, a door that should have stayed closed. So turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and whatever you do, don't fall asleep. I don't remember the last words I said to Elise. I don't even remember if I looked at her that morning, 7 years ago, before she disappeared. Maybe I was too busy with my stupid high school crush, or too tired from cramming for finals. But I do remember the last time I saw her face. Not in person, but in a photo from the funeral, a white casket with flower carvings. My sister, buried beneath a willow tree, face unseen, secrets sealed. Elise was 5 years older than me, always too old, too far away, too much for me to understand. While I was still collecting Pokemon cards and trying to beat the Elite Four, she was sneaking out of the house with glitter eyeshadow and vodka in her purse. She was blonde, beautiful, the kind of girl who didn't belong in the world we lived in, a world of quiet dinners, unspoken resentment, and cold suburban shadows. She never really fit in, not with our family, not with anyone. There was something glassy about her, like she was here, but always somewhere else at the same time. Mom called her dramatic. Dad called her a mess. I think she was just drowning. But I didn't see it then. I didn't even try. And then one day, she ran. She left a note. Said she couldn't take the yelling anymore. Said the world outside had to be better than inside. Took a bag and vanished. They found her 3 weeks later, face down in a drainage canal 40 miles away. The report said it could have been an accident or a suicide, but no one knew for sure. We never saw her body. The coffin was sealed, and Mom didn't argue with the funeral director about it. She just nodded, picked out lilies, and chose a spot under the old willow in our backyard. That tree still stands. Its roots twist into the soil like veins, like it's feeding off the dead. I was 15, and I cried, but not enough. I felt guilt, but not deep enough. Mostly, I felt empty, like someone had taken a part of the world and locked it away from me forever. Years passed. I moved out, went to college, got therapy, lots of it. My therapist said it wasn't my fault, that I was too young to carry her weight. I nodded like I agreed, but there are nights I still wake up sweating, heart racing, dreaming of dark water and the sound of someone calling my name in the voice of my dead sister. There's something else, something I've never told anyone. Since Elise died, I've had this thing, this feeling, a pull. It sounds insane, but sometimes I feel like she's still nearby. Like if I turned a certain corner or walked through the right alley at the right time, I'd find her. Not alive, not dead either, just waiting. I used to think it was trauma. Maybe it is. But then came the night that changed everything. It started simple. Boring night. Couldn't sleep. I was on my laptop, lurking a Discord server for horror fans. I loved horror. The more disturbing, the better. Slasher flicks, found footage, cursed tapes, the kind of stuff that makes you feel sick afterward. Like your brain just touched something it shouldn't have. I was asking for movie recs. Something wrong, I said. Not gory, not jump scare heavy, just wrong. Something that shouldn't exist. Someone replied. No name, no context. Just an anime avatar and a direct message. Try this, alone, with headphones. Attached was a download link, file name, grievance to MKV. I should have known better. I should have closed the window, deleted the file, gone to bed, but I was tired, curious, stupid. The thumbnail was odd, a blurry image of the girl, waist deep in water, her mouth open like she was screaming, or maybe gasping for air. I clicked, and the moment it began, I felt it. Not fear, not yet. Something worse. Recognition. The film didn't start with a studio logo, or music, just heavy breathing and darkness. It felt like the camera was strapped to someone's head, maybe lying down. Their feet were tied. They were panicking, breathing fast, looking around. Go grass, darkness, the sound of footsteps getting closer. For minutes, nothing else happened. Then suddenly, grievance in a washed-out serif font, like something from the 70s. A man stepped into frame. He looked normal until you saw his eyes, dead, like meat. He bent down. The screen went black. There was screaming, a struggle. Then the camera flicked back on, shaky, frantic, chaotic. And that's when I saw her. At first, just her back. She was fighting, blonde hair flying, wearing a tank top, wet and clinging to her shoulders. Then she turned, and my heart stopped. That face, that goddamn tattoo. It was Elise, older, alive, screaming, or acting. No, it wasn't acting. It was real, too raw, too close. I watched the whole thing. It couldn't move, couldn't breathe, and somewhere, in the pit of my stomach, I felt it. This wasn't a movie. This was a message. Or maybe a memory. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. My hands were still trembling hours after the film ended. I tried rationalizing it. Told myself it was a look-alike, a doppelganger. Maybe someone stole photos of Elise and modeled a character after her. Maybe it was some twisted experimental indie film that used real people's stories. But the tattoo, that god-awful stick and poke she did with her friends. A starburst on her shoulder blade, uneven and messy, like it had been carved into her skin with a rusted pen. Our parents hated it. She got grounded for a month when they found out, and there it was in the movie, faded, crooked, and all too real. By dawn, I had opened every Reddit thread, horror forum, and film archive I could find. I searched for grievance using every keyword combination. Lost film, cursed movie, mysterious actress, unreleased horror 2025. Nothing turned up. Eventually, I stumbled on a deep thread in obscure horror, buried under layers of unrelated junk. Someone had posted a blurry screenshot of the title frame. The same serif font, the same dark field behind it. Anyone know what this is? The OP had written. It's not on IMDb. A few users responded with vague praise. Too real. Gave me chills. Lead performance felt like a documentary. One comment stopped me cold. The scene by the canal made me cry. How did they get that footage? Canal? Nobody had ever mentioned the canal. It was never in the news. The official report just called it a drainage site. The exact location had only been shared with the family. My family. I sat back in my chair. The air in my room felt thicker, denser, like I was breathing water instead of air. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a message. I grabbed my phone, went to the dusty Facebook archives of Elise's old high school, searched her name, her class year, any tagged photos. After an hour of clicking through dead profiles and forgotten memories, I found it. A post dated 1 week before she disappeared. Just a stupid party picture. Red Solo cups, a bonfire, someone playing guitar in the background. But there she was, Elise, off to the side, laughing. Same tank top, same hair, same tattoo visible under the strap, and in the background, standing half hidden by trees, a man, blurred, dark, out of focus. But even in the distortion, I recognized him, the man from Grievance. I slammed the laptop shut. My skin was crawling. The room was too quiet. The shadows too long. I felt watched. Something was wrong with that movie. No, something was wrong with reality. I paced around my apartment, trying to think. I kept telling myself I was overreacting, that this was some elaborate ARG or viral horror experience. But then I remembered the last 10 minutes of the movie. How Elise's character had stared into the camera like she could see something beyond the screen. Like she could see me. I told myself I wasn't going to rewatch it. I swore I wouldn't. That promise lasted 4 hours. When night fell again, I turned off all the lights, plugged in my headphones, and opened the file. But something was different. The icon had changed. Before, it was just the girl's image. Now it was darker, grainier, a static image of the canal, the same one from the ending. I double-clicked. There were no opening credits this time. No breathing, no footsteps. Just the canal. Wide, silent, unmoving. The water reflected nothing. No birds, no people. Just wind rustling the reeds and the distant sound of cicadas. The camera didn't move. 10 minutes of silence. I almost closed the video, thinking it was broken. Then, at minute 7:23, she appeared. Elise. Older, pale, hair clinging to her face like seaweed. Her clothes were soaked, dragging behind her as she waited from the shadows. She didn't walk into frame. She emerged, like she'd been underneath the surface, just waiting, and then she looked up. Not at the camera, at me. It was impossible, yet undeniable. I felt it, her eyes locking with mine through the screen. Her expression wasn't sad or vengeful, just hollow, empty, like someone trying to remember how to feel. Then she raised her hand, reached toward me, and the screen glitched. Static, frame tearing, then black. A new image appeared. Not a jump scare, not gore. A gravestone. My name. First, middle, last. Date of birth. No death date. Just a countdown. 72 hours. I yanked off my headphones and backed away from the screen like it could burn me. My breath came in gasps. My hands were sweating. I wanted to throw the laptop out the window, smash it, burn it. But I didn't. I sat down and rewound the file. It was real. The countdown was ticking. I didn't sleep that night either. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. Not the girl I remembered, but something else. Something that had learned how to wear her face. By morning, I'd convinced myself it was a hallucination. Stress. Grief. A deeply cruel prank. I started to laugh. Actually laugh. Poured myself coffee, opened the window, let the sun touch my skin. That's when the text came. Mom, hey sweetie, did you leave flowers at the tree this morning? I had a dream about Elise last night, and it felt so real. So I went to visit her today. There were lilies there, fresh ones. Was that you? She attached a photo, the willow tree in our backyard, and beneath its hanging branches, at the base of Elise's grave, was a bouquet of lilies. I hadn't told anyone. No one even knew I was watching that film. No one had visited that grave in years. I didn't answer my mom. What could I say? No, I didn't leave flowers, but I did watch Elise walk out of a cursed video file and stare directly into my soul. I sat with the image she'd sent me, the willow tree, the lilies, the sunlight trickling through its branches. Peaceful, deceptively peaceful. But I knew what it meant. Someone or something had been there, had touched the dirt above Elise's grave. I told myself to delete the file. I didn't. Instead, I stared at the countdown beneath my name, ticking down in silence. 71 hours, then 70, then 69. Every second brought me closer to something I couldn't name, but felt like drowning in cold water. That evening, I caught the first glitch. I was brushing my teeth when I noticed my reflection blinking out of sync with me. It happened fast, half a second, barely perceptible. But I saw it. I blinked. My reflection didn't. Its eyes stayed open a fraction longer, like it was observing. I leaned closer, tapped the glass. Nothing. Just my pale, sleepless face staring back. I chalked it up to exhaustion, grief, maybe a panic attack. I was spiraling. That much was clear. Still, I avoided mirrors for the rest of the night, brushed my teeth in the kitchen, slept with the closet door closed, all reflective surfaces covered, or tried to sleep anyway, because that's when the dreams started. If you can call them dreams. In the first one, I was underwater, not swimming, sinking. It was freezing, and the deeper I went, the darker it got. But there was light beneath me, something glowing. I swam toward it, desperate for warmth. And then, I saw her. Elise, floating at the bottom of the canal, eyes open, hair moving like seaweed. She smiled at me. Not a kind smile, not even human. Just a stretch of skin, mimicking a memory. Her mouth opened. I thought she was going to speak, but instead, water poured out, gallons of it, as if she wasn't drowning, but made of the stuff. I woke up choking. My throat was dry, my pillow soaked with sweat. I could still taste something metallic on my tongue, like rusted coins. The worst part? My laptop was open, and the video had played again. I hadn't touched it, but now, the file name had changed. No longer grievance, .mkv. Now it was called reunion, .vkv. I stared at the name for a long time. Reunion, like a school get-together, like family coming home, like death. I wanted to run, leave town, go somewhere with no screens, no electricity, no memories. But it was too late for that. She was already here. The next day, my reflection blinked before me. That was the moment I knew I wasn't just seeing things. I was being watched. Elise wasn't just in the file. She was in the air, the light, the glass. She was behind the glass. I started seeing her everywhere, in windows, in puddles, in the microwave door, but only when I wasn't looking directly. She was always out of focus, drenched, hair clinging to her cheeks, sometimes smiling, sometimes just watching, and sometimes she was me. It happened once in the bathroom mirror. I turned the faucet on, looked up, and the girl staring back wasn't me. She looked like me, yes, but thinner, wetter, older. She tilted her head and mouthed something I couldn't hear. Her eyes were cloudy, her lips cracked. I slammed the mirror with my fist, cracked it. Glass shards hit the sink like falling ice. The reflection was gone, but my hand kept bleeding. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. Do you remember what she sounded like when she screamed? No ID, no trace, just those words. I threw the phone across the room. It rang. Same number, just once. I didn't answer. Instead, I turned every mirror in the apartment to face the wall, shut my laptop, unplugged the TV. I even covered my phone with a dish towel. Anything that could reflect her, I shut down. But she found new ways. That night, I saw her in the reflection of my eyes, catching glimpses when I walked past dark walls or glanced at shiny door handles. I was never truly alone, never truly safe. She wasn't just haunting me, she was becoming me. And the countdown kept ticking. 52 hours. I made a plan. Visit the grave. Dig. I know how that sounds. I really do. But I had to know. Had to see what was in that coffin. Elise was supposed to be buried under the willow. Closed casket. No body shown. No DNA retested since that first report. What if it wasn't her? What if it was never her? The idea burned through my brain like fever. It was the only thread I could pull. The next morning, I rented a car and drove 6 hours back to our childhood home. The backyard was overgrown, the grass brown and brittle. The willow still stood, tall and gnarled, like something out of a nightmare. Her gravestone was untouched, but the bouquet of lilies had wilted, not from age, from rot. They were soaked through, petals blackened, stems mushy, as if someone had pulled them up from a swamp. I looked around. No neighbors, no movement. Then I started to dig. My hands blistered quickly. The dirt was heavy, sticky, like it didn't want to be moved. With every scoop, I expected to hear footsteps behind me, feel fingers grab my ankle. I reached the top of the coffin just as the sun dipped below the horizon. The white casket, flower carved, still pristine. My hands trembled on the handle. I opened it. And inside, to be continued in part 4. Let me know when you're ready to continue. In part 4, we'll confront the horrifying truth inside the coffin. And everything starts to unravel. Inside the coffin was nothing. No bones, no body, no satin lining cradling a peaceful corpse. Just wet dirt, fresh, black, and clinging to the white interior like it had been shoveled in, not by nature, but by hand. My breath caught in my throat. My body turned cold. I reached inside and let my fingers sink into the soil. It was warm, alive almost, squirming with something I couldn't see. I yanked my hand back and stumbled away, heart racing, stomach churning. Elise wasn't buried here. She never had been. That white casket, the flowers carved into it, the willow tree overhead. It was all a lie, a set piece, a shrine to an absence, the body that was never shown. Maybe there never was one. And then I heard it, a faint knock, from inside the coffin. 3 soft taps, spaced out, like someone was gently knocking from below. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but my legs refused. I stared at the open casket, lips trembling. Then came the whisper. So faint I might have imagined it. You found me. My vision blurred. I turned and ran, not back toward the house, but blindly through the backyard, crashing into branches, scraping my arms against thorns. Something chased me. Not footsteps, not breath, a presence. Cold and wet and wrong, like a storm that had put on a human face. I didn't stop running until I reached the car. I locked the doors, peeled out of the driveway, and didn't stop until I reached a gas station 2 towns over. I sat under buzzing fluorescent lights for an hour, hands shaking, dirt under my nails. Unable to explain what had just happened. The countdown was now at 36 hours, and I was beginning to realize This wasn't about Elise's death anymore. This was about mine. Back in my apartment, the air felt thicker. My laptop had turned itself back on. The screen glowed with a paused video. Reunion Dem KV, minute 9:59. 1 second left. The canal on screen was empty, the water still. I pressed play. The screen went black. Then, a new image appeared. One I hadn't seen before. A child's bedroom. Mine. The posters on the wall, the stuffed animals, the cheap wooden desk. But it was darker now. Older. Dusty. As if no one had entered in years. And then the camera slowly panned. To me, sitting on the bed, younger, maybe 9 or 10, playing a handheld game, head down. The camera got closer. The child me never looked up. Closer still. Then, from behind the doorframe, Elise appeared, but not as she had been. She was taller, bones stretched. Her skin was damp, peeling in places like wallpaper soaked through. She crept toward me, 1 step at a time, and just before her fingers reached my shoulder, glitch, static, back to black. A new text appeared on screen. You left me alone. I backed away from the screen. It was true, wasn't it? I had. Elise was always drowning, and I never reached in to pull her out. Not once. The next glitch came in real life. My phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again and again. I picked up on the 6th call. Silence on the other end. Then the sound of dripping water. And something else. A faint voice, like a recording played underwater. Come home. I hung up, but I couldn't stop shaking. I opened my phone's camera just to check my face, to see if I still looked like me. And there she was, in the reflection behind me, standing in my kitchen, wet, barefoot, blonde hair hanging over her eyes, not smiling, just waiting. I spun around. Nothing, but the floor was damp. My socks squished against the tile. A trail of muddy footprints led from the hallway to where she'd been standing. I followed them. They vanished at the mirror on the bathroom door. Not into it. Into it. The footprints ended at the glass. She was inside. That's when I understood. She didn't want to haunt me. She wanted to pull me in, trade places. She was never buried. Not physically. She was trapped. In the footage, in the memory, in the reflection. And now she was trying to escape. The countdown was at 24 hours. I didn't leave the apartment that day. I unplugged every electronic, smashed every mirror, drew blackout curtains across every window. It didn't help. I started seeing static in real life, just brief flashes, at the edges of vision, like reality was glitching, tearing around me. My vision would split, double, then correct itself. Once I looked in the kitchen and saw myself standing at the sink, just for a split second. Then he was gone. I was gone. Only one of us remained, and I wasn't sure anymore if it was me. I stopped eating, stopped drinking. The countdown reached 12 hours. I opened the file again. I don't know why. Maybe it was a death drive. Maybe it was guilt. The title had changed again. Elise, MKV, no more subtlety. The screen showed a single frame. A girl sitting in a white coffin, smiling softly. Not dead. Not alive either. Somewhere in between. And she was waiting for me to join her. There's something you need to understand. By the time the countdown hit 12 hours, I wasn't sure who I was anymore. I don't mean that poetically. I mean I genuinely, physically couldn't tell if I was still me. Because sometimes when I spoke, the voice wasn't mine. Sometimes I'd look down and see wet footprints that hadn't been there a second ago. My skin felt wrong, softer in places, rotting in others. I tried to pull at it once in the shower, and it peeled, just a small patch. But the skin came off like wet paper, and underneath was something darker, grayer. Not blood, something older. I stopped answering my phone. Texts from friends came in like echoes. Hey, you good? Haven't seen you online lately. Are you alive, LOL? I didn't respond. Couldn't. Every time I tried to type, the letters rearranged themselves. They formed one word over and over again. Reunion. I kept dreaming of water, but the dreams had changed. In one of them, I wasn't drowning anymore. I was floating, weightless, calm. And Elise was there. Not the decayed Elise, not the one in the tank top soaked in mud. She was whole. She was smiling. But her eyes were all wrong. Black and wide and stretching like they never ended. She held out her hand to me and said, "It's not so bad. You just have to let go." I reached for her and woke up in the bathtub, fully clothed, water filled to the brim, ice cold, my head underwater. If I hadn't jolted awake in that exact moment, I don't think I would have ever surfaced. The next day, I went to the police, not because I thought they could help. I just wanted to be somewhere else, somewhere with people, with light, with rules. But I couldn't even make it inside. As I walked up the concrete steps of the station, a mirror near the entrance, just a polished piece of art glass, caught my eye. I stopped, not because I saw myself, because I didn't. There was nothing in that reflection. No officer behind the desk, no cars outside, no sky, no me, just the canal. Still, silent. And then Elise stepped into frame, from the left side of the mirror, as if she'd been waiting for her cue. She stood there, stared at me, tilted her head, and knocked, not on the glass, from inside it. 3 taps, just like the coffin. I turned and ran. I don't think anyone at the station even saw me. That night, I broke the last mirror in my apartment, the one on the back of my bedroom door. But as the shards scattered, something strange happened. There was no reflection, no pieces of me looking back. Only Elise, in every shard, a different version of her. One young, laughing, another older, crying, one screaming, blood pouring from her mouth, one crawling on all fours like an animal, one staring directly at me, eyes wide with joy, arms open. I swept them up and dumped them down the garbage chute. But even now, I swear I can still hear the faint sound of water trickling in the walls. At 6 hours, I started recording myself. Desperation, maybe. Insurance. I set up my phone, aimed it at my bed, pressed record, and tried to sleep. I woke up 3 hours later, phone on the floor, recording still running. I watched the footage. At first, nothing unusual, just me, tossing and turning. Then, around 2:17 a.m., movement. The closet door creaked open. A hand emerged. Not mine, Elise's. Wet, pale, nails dark with dirt. She climbed out of the closet like a puppet, pulled by invisible strings, bent forward, head twitching. She crawled up to my bed and just watched me for 2 full hours. Never moved, never blinked. Then, just before sunrise, she crawled back into the closet, and the door swung shut by itself. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stared at the screen, numb, because a part of me already knew what the footage would show. What I didn't expect was the final frame. After she vanished, the screen glitched, then cut to black, then text, "It's your turn now." I packed a bag, not because I had anywhere to go, because I needed the illusion of motion, the fantasy of escape. I took only one thing, the hard drive, reunion.mkv, now called Elise.mkv, now changed again, Elise2.mkv. I didn't open it. Not yet. On my way out, I caught a glimpse of myself in the reflection of a car window. I was smiling, but I wasn't. The reflection grinned wider, too wide. My real face was blank. The reflection winked. I backed away. It mimicked nothing now. It was free. Or maybe I wasn't me anymore. Maybe I was the reflection. The countdown hit 0112. I stared at the timer. I thought it would stop. It didn't. It looped. Restarted from 72 o'clock. And that's when I realized the truth. This wasn't about death. This was inheritance. Elise had found a way to live on. Not through resurrection, but through replacement. She was never buried. She was passed on. And now, I was next in line. Time doesn't move forward anymore. It loops, stutters. Sometimes I'll blink and it's daylight. Blink again and I'm back in the bathtub, mouth full of cold water. Sometimes I find myself sitting in the dark, fingernails caked with dirt, replaying the same 10 seconds of Elise2.mkv, like it holds the secret to the universe. But there are no answers in that file. Only her face. Closer now. Each time I open it, she's closer. By now, I've stopped trying to figure out what's happening. The question isn't why me? The question is, how long do I have left before I stop being me? It's not just mirrors anymore, not just reflections. She's seeping into real life, into people. It started with the man in the elevator, middle-aged, normal, until he looked at me and smiled. And in Elise's voice, he whispered, "Don't forget to breathe when the water closes in." I stumbled out of the elevator on the wrong floor, heart pounding. Then came the little girl at the bus stop. She was holding her mother's hand, laughing, until she looked at me and went completely still. She didn't blink, didn't move, and then, in a voice way too old for her tiny body, she said, "You're wearing my skin." I ran. The world is breaking. Or maybe I'm just slipping out of it. I keep seeing flashes of places I've never been. A field with blood-red grass. A rusted swing set swaying with no wind. A door in the middle of a black ocean. I'll blink, and it's gone. But not forgotten. I hear Elise in my head now. Not constantly. Just when I close my eyes. She whispers things that sound like memories, but aren't mine. Remember the smell of the lilacs before the fight? He left the door open. That's how he got in. You screamed when I sank. You just didn't make a sound. Sometimes I whisper back. I'm not sure who I'm comforting anymore. I tried to throw away the hard drive. I wrapped it in cloth, stuffed it in a shoebox, drove to the lake and flung it as far as I could into the water. The splash echoed. I felt relief. For the first time in days. Actual relief. That night I slept. No dreams, no footsteps, just silence. Whoa. When I woke up, the hard drive was on my desk. Dry. Plugged in. Elise MKV was waiting. I watched it. I didn't want to. I needed to. The video started with a close-up of a girl's face. Mine, not now, young me, maybe 12, sitting cross-legged in our old living room, playing video games. The camera panned slowly behind me. Then I entered the room again. Not little me, present me. Or maybe Elise in my shape. I walked toward my younger self, reached out and rested a hand on my own shoulder. The child froze, then turned and smiled. A perfect mirror smile. "Do you get it now?" Elise's voice echoed behind the footage. "I was never gone. I've just been waiting for you to join me." The screen cut to the black, then to static, then to a scene I'd never seen before. The canal. But this time I was already standing in the water, neck deep, looking up at the camera, at myself. It was a ritual. It had always been a ritual, a trade. She needed someone to remember her long enough, fear her long enough, to anchor herself in the world again. And I had obliged. I had watched her, listened to her, dug her up. She didn't need mirrors anymore. She had me. The final glitch came during a storm. Power flickered. All the screens in my apartment turned on. Laptop, TV, phone, even the broken tablet I'd left under the couch. Every one of them showed the same image. A door, wooden, carved with lilies, like her casket, like an invitation, and written across it in dripping black text, "Open to enter, open to leave." I understood what I had to do. There was no running, no stopping it, only choice. Enter or be taken, offer or be dragged. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, the only one left, shattered but still clinging to the wall. I waited. At exactly midnight, she appeared, not behind the glass, in it. We stared at each other for a long time. She wasn't smiling. She looked tired, grief heavy, the way I remembered her when I was still too young to understand pain. I raised my hand. She mirrored me. Then I pressed my palm against the glass. And so did she. Our skin met at the barrier. And slowly, the mirror rippled. The final image I remember before crossing over was my own reflection, reaching through and pulling me in. No resistance. No scream. Just cold. And the sound of water. To be continued in part 7. In the final part, the narrator completes the exchange. Or maybe not. The truth of what Elise has become is revealed, and the story closes with a haunting twist. Let me know when you're ready. It felt like sinking. Not drowning, not anymore, but drifting downward into something deeper than water, heavier than death. No light, no time, just a constant pressure, like the world above had collapsed, and I was falling through the cracks between moments. Then, sound. The faint hum of cicadas, the creak of wood, the echo of footsteps on dirt. I opened my eyes. I was in the canal, but not underwater. I stood on its bank, alone, dry, except for the air which hung heavy with moisture, like it had just rained. The world was colorless, not black and white, just drained, like an old photograph, faded until only memory remained. Ahead, there was a mirror, framed in rotting wood, the exact size and shape of the one in my childhood bedroom. And in the reflection, my apartment, normal, lit, clean, and standing in it, where I had once been, was me, or something wearing my face. It smiled, waved, then turned away, walked into the room, and shut the door behind it. I touched the mirror, but it was solid now. No ripple, no give. I was locked out. I wasn't dead, that much I knew. Not in the way a body rots, but I wasn't living either. I was held, in this place between the real and the remembered, a reflection with no surface to bounce off. I screamed. No sound. I ran. Nowhere to go. The sky never changed. The air never moved. I waited, and eventually, I wasn't alone. She came from the trees, Elise, not broken, not monstrous, just Elise, wearing the same tank top, the same crooked tattoo on her shoulder. Her feet were bare. Her skin shimmered like it had been soaked in fog. She sat next to me on the grass and didn't speak for a long time. When she finally did, her voice was softer than I remembered. It was supposed to be someone else, not you. I didn't answer, because I knew. It had been meant for him, the man, the one in the film, the one who chased her, killed her, or helped her die, whoever he was. He was supposed to be pulled in, but he never watched the footage. I did. I opened the door. I remembered her, and that was all it took. You weren't supposed to stay, she said. I turned to her. Why me? She looked down. Because you listened. I laughed bitterly. Too late. She didn't argue, and that was somehow worse. In the time that followed, if you can call it that, we walked. Through looping trees, past mirrors hung from branches, through memories stitched together like film reels. She showed me the party, the fight, the moment she ran, the moment she stopped, the man in the trees, the scream, the silence, then the first shovel of dirt over the casket, and the first time no one came looking. I didn't want revenge, she whispered. I just wanted to be seen. When we returned to the canal, the mirror was gone. In its place, a door, white, wooden, carved with lilies, just like the one from the final video. The inscription had changed. Now it read, "One stays, one leaves." I looked at Elise. She looked at me, and I knew what she was offering. Freedom. For one of us, but not both. I could lie and say I made the noble choice. I could say I gave up my chance to escape. But the truth, I don't remember, not clearly. All I remember is pain, a tearing, a sound like glass breaking underwater. Then, darkness. Now I'm home, in my body, or something close enough. People see me and don't notice anything's changed, but I can feel it. There's something behind my smile. There's someone in the mirrors who blinks after I do. And sometimes when I dream, I see the canal again. I see Elise, still sitting by the water, still waiting, still remembering. Sometimes I find flowers on my windowsill, lilies, always wet. Sometimes I look in the mirror and see her face flicker beneath mine, like light through water. And sometimes, when I press my hand to the glass, I feel fingers press back. Final entry, found in the file metadata. File name, reunion, final.mkv, duration, infinite last opened, unknown notes. She was never buried, she was downloaded. Play it once, and she remembers you. Play it twice, and you remember her. Play it a third time, and she comes home. Watch with headphones, watch alone, watch only if you miss her.